Hello everyone and welcome to the course Foundation Engineering. Today I start a new topic, bearing capacity of shallow foundation. In today's lecture I will discuss about bearing capacity of foundation and how to calculate the bearing capacity of foundation, because the bearing capacity of the soil and the settlement is the basic criteria for the designing of any foundation. So this topic is very important. Okay, so let's start. So these are the list of content which I am covering in this lecture. Basic definition of bearing capacity, criteria for the determination of bearing capacity, modes of shear failure, factors affecting bearing capacity, method of determining bearing capacity, foundation settlement, contact pressure, plate load test, floating foundation. The last topic is pavement. So first of all, we have to understand basic terminology or definition of bearing capacity before the analysis part start. So let's start the basic definition. The first is gross bearing capacity, which is denoted by a QU. So what is uh, gross bearing capacity? The total pressure acting at the base of the foundation, including its the weight of the superstructure, self weight of the footing, and the weight of fill over the footing, which is known as a surcharge pressure, is known as a gross bearing capacity. Okay. Next bearing capacity, which is denoted by a Qn. So what is net bearing capacity? It is defined as the gross bearing capacity minus the original overburden pressure or the surcharge pressure at the foundation level is known as net bearing capacity. Okay, so if we minus the overburden pressure or surcharge pressure from the gross bearing capacity, we can find the net bearing. Next, ultimate bearing capacity. So the ultimate bearing capacity is the gross pressure at the base of the foundation at which the soil fails in shear. Next, net ultimate bearing capacity, which is denoted by QNU. So it's a net increase in pressure at the base of the foundation that causes shear failure of the soil. If we minus the overburden pressure or surcharge pressure. Next, net safe bearing capacity, which is denoted by a QNS. It is the net soil pressure which can be safely applied to the soil considering only shear failure. Okay, so net safe bearing capacity we can find out by the dividing by the net ultimate bearing capacity by the factor of safety, which is usually taken as 2 to 3. Okay, and the safe bearing capacity is the maximum pressure which the soil can carry safely without any failure or without any shear failure is known as safe bearing capacity. So safe bearing capacity is denoted by a QS, and you can find out the safe bearing capacity by net safe bearing capacity plus surcharge pressure or net ultimate bearing capacity divided by the factor of safety, which is taken as 2 to 3, plus surcharge pressure or overburden pressure. So next topic, criteria for the determination of bearing capacity. As I told you earlier, bearing capacity of soil and the settlement is the basic criteria of foundation design. Okay, so for satisfactory performance, a foundation must satisfy these criteria like location and depth, shear failure, and the settlement criteria. Okay, the first criteria is location and depth. Okay, a foundation must be properly located and founded at such a depth that its performance does not affected by a factor such as lateral expulsion of soil from beneath the foundation, seasonal volume changes, and presence of adjoining structure. Okay, means the depth and the location of your foundation should be like that the lateral expulsion of the soil beneath the foundation and the seasonal volume changes do not affect your foundation. Okay, next, shear failure criteria of the foundation. So shear failure of the foundation soil shall not occur. Okay, this is associated with the plastic flow of the soil material underneath the foundation and the lateral expulsion of the soil from underneath the foundation. Okay, next is the probable settlement or differential settlement Okay, though the probable settlement, the differential settlement, as well as a total of the foundation must be limited to a safe, tolerable, or acceptable magnitude. It means the settlement in the soil should be in a permissible limit or in a tolerable limit. Okay. In other words, the anticipated settlement under the applied pressure on the foundation should not be detrimental to the stability of the criteria. Basically, the last two criteria are known as the shear strength criteria and the settlement criteria respectively. The design value of the safe bearing capacity obviously would be the smaller of the two value obtained from these two criteria. Next, the modes of shear failures. So, three different types of failure mechanism based on the pattern has been identified, or the experimental investigation have indicated that when a footing fails due to insufficient bearing capacity, different failure patterns are developed, and depending upon the failure mechanism, Vesic observed three types of failure. Okay, so first general shear failure, second local shear failure, third punching shear failure. Okay, are the modes of shear failure. So first is general shear failure. Normally the general shear failures occur in a dense sand and a stiff clay. Okay. If the soil properties are the such that the footing is loaded to a failure, a slightly downward movement of the footing develop fully plastic zone, due to which the entire soil along a slip surface fails in shear and the soil bulges out at the sides of the footing as shown in this figure. This type of failure of the foundation is known as general shear failure. Okay. In general shear failure, the soil is bulged out at the surface of the ground. Okay. In general shear failure, you can identify visually. Okay. You can identify visually by your eyes. Okay. In general shear failure, the failure surface will be visible in the ground surface because the soil is bulged out at the surface. Okay, and general shear failure normally occurs in a stiff clay and dense sand. Okay, in general shear failures or the general shear failure have some characteristics. Okay, how we can find out the how we can find the general shear failures occur. So first is the failure surface is well defined, means the failure surface is well defined or reaches to the ground surface. Okay, and the ultimate bearing capacity of the soil is well defined. Okay, these are the general characteristics of a general shear failure. Next, local shear failure. Local shear failures occurs in medium compacted sand and clay soil. Okay. In local shear failure, if the soil properties are such that before the plastic zone are fully developed, a large deformation occurs immediately below the footing, resulting in the shear failure of the soil in the portion just below the footing is known as local shear failure. Okay, when the load per unit area on the foundation equals to the foundation movement is accompanied by a sudden jerk. Okay, in local shear failure, the failures occur in the form of sudden jerks. Okay, it is an intermediate failure mode in which clearly defined failure lines develop, but only immediately below the footing and extending only a short distance beyond the footing area. There is neither a sudden failure or a clearly defined ultimate load. Okay, and the local shear failure occurs in medium and next, punching shear failures. So punching shear failures occur where there is a relatively high compressible soil under the footing accompanied by a shearing in the vertical direction around the edge of the footing, and the failure surface, which is vertical or slightly inclined, never reaches to the ground surface. There is no heaving on the of the ground surface away from the edges and no tilting of the foundation. Okay, punching shear failure characterized in terms of large settlement. Okay, if the in foundation there is a large settlement, we can identify the punching shear failure. Okay, so punching shear failure, it develops vertical shear planes around the footing perimeter and not affecting the soil beyond the loaded area. As the footing are seldom constructed on a very loose end, so the punching shear failures rarely occur in actual practice. So that's why Terzaghi consider only the general shear failure or and local shear failure. So next, the load settlement curve for different shears failure. Okay, so this is the graph for the different failures, general shear failures, local shear failures, and for punching shear failure. In general shear failure, we can identify the failure surface which reaches up to the ground surface, and the ultimate bearing capacity of the foundation is well defined. In general shear failure, the ultimate bearing capacity is not well defined, and for the punching shear failure, the ultimate bearing capacity. Next, factors affecting bearing capacity of the soil. So first, position of the ground water table, relative density, width of footing and depth of footing. So first, position of groundwater table. How to groundwater table affect the bearing capacity of soil? If the rise of water table from below the foundation resulted in decrease in bearing capacity in a granular soil. Okay, if the soil is granular soil, so the rise of the water table from below the foundation resulted in decrease in bearing capacity. Because of the decrease in effective unit weight of soil, consequences to the soil being submerged. If water table is at a depth greater than the width of the footing below the base of the footing, there is a no effect of water table on the bearing capacity. Okay, if the water table reaches the ground level rising from the depth equal to or greater than the width of the footing below base of the footing, the bearing capacity could be reduced by as much as 15%. Okay. Next, relative density. So higher the relative density, greater the angle of shear resistance for a cohesionless soil deposit, and the bearing capacity factors like NQ and N gamma increase with increase in the angle of shear resistance, and hence the bearing capacity increase with increasing the relative density. Next, width of the footing. So it can be seen from the equation that the ultimate bearing capacity of the cohesionless soil increase with increase in the width of the footing. Okay, next, depth of the footing. An increase in the depth of the footing will result in an increase in a surcharge, which is gamma d at the base level of the foundation, load leading to an increasing in a bearing capacity. So as the depth increase, bearing capacity of the soil is also. Next, method of determining bearing capacity. So there are three methods. First is IS code method, second analytical method, third is field method. In IS code method, we can take the value from the IS code 19042 to 1978. Okay. These codes are based on the past experience and some investigation. From IS code, you can take the value directly according to the type of soil, but these values are roughly, so you cannot completely rely on it. Next method, analytical method. So there are six methods: Prandtl, Terzaghi, Scampton, Meyerhoff, Hansen, and Rankine theory. And in field method, there are four methods: plate load test, standard penetration test, static cone penetration test, and dynamic cone penetration test. Next method, analytical method. So Rankine method. This method based on a Rankine earth pressure theory. It's too approximate and conservative for practical. Okay. So Rankine gave a theory based on the plastic equilibrium. He considered the plastic equilibrium of two adjacent of soil, one just beneath the soil, and second outside the soil, outside the foundation, or just beyond the edge of the footing. Okay, for in element 1 the vertical stress is a major, and for element 2 the lateral stress is a major stress. So obviously for element 1 vertical stress is major principal stress, and for element 1 the lateral pressure is minor principal stress because it is loaded vertically. But for element 2 there is a no vertical stress directly, so the lateral pressure is major principal stress and the vertical pressure is minor principal stress. So when the footing pressure approaches the ultimate bearing capacity, element 1 attains plastic equilibrium. However, the element 1 can fail only when the this is the equations which gives an approximate value of the ultimate bearing capacity of the soil. Okay, this equation. So Rankine theory has some limitation. So it is rarely used for the determination of ultimate bearing capacity of the soil, and the limitation are Rankine did not consider cohesion intercept of soil, and the second limitation is the theory gives the bearing capacity of the soil as 0 if the depth of the foundation is 0. Okay, so this equation is applicable for surface footing, means D is 0. Okay, so if df is the 0, so the ultimate bearing capacity of the soil is 0, and the for minimum depth of the foundation the equation is this. For finding out the minimum depth of the foundation you can use this equation, or for the ultimate bearing capacity you can use this equation for finding out the ultimate bearing capacity of the soil. Next, Prandtl's method. So Prandtl analyzed the plastic failure in metals when punched by a hard metal puncher. This analysis has been adapted to soil when loaded to a shear failure by a relatively rigid foundation. So Prandtl makes some assumption for his theory. What is the assumption? The soil is homogeneous, isotropic, and weightless. Second, the Mohr-Coulomb equation for a failure envelope is valid for the soil. Okay, so Prandtl gave the theory for the penetration of punches into a metal. The theory can be used to determine the ultimate bearing capacity of soil, and the analysis is based on that assumption that the strip footing placed on the ground surface sinks vertically downward into the soil at failure like a punch. Okay, and the failure zone developed below the footing in three zones. First zone is wedge zone, okay, and the third act as a rigid body. The zone in sector 2 deform plastically. In the plastic zone, all radius vectors or planes through A and B are failure planes, and the curved boundary is a logarithmic spiral. Wedge 1 is elastically pushed down and tending to a push zone 3 upward and outward, which is resisted by the passive resistance of the soil in this zone. Okay, and the last assumption, the stress in the elastic zone 1 is transmitted hydrostatically in all direction. Okay, using the theory of the plasticity, Prandtl developed expression for the ultimate bearing capacity for a strip footing, assuming the curved part of the slip surface of the shape of the logarithmic spiral. Okay, for purely cohesive soil, the spiral becomes a circular arc, and the Prandtl analysis gave this equation for the ultimate bearing capacity of the soil. Okay, where C is the unrate cohesion of the soil. Okay, next, limitation of the Prandtl's theory. So Prandtl's theory is valid only for the footing with perfectly smooth base in contact with the soil, as the actual footing have the rough base, so that this theory does not give accurate result. Okay, and the Prandtl's expression as originally derived does not include the size of the footing. Okay, so these are the limitation of the Prandtl's theory. Next, Terzaghi method. So Terzaghi method is in fact an extension and improved modification of Prandtl's theory. So Terzaghi proposed a bearing capacity theory. So is some assumptions Terzaghi have made for analysis. So first we go with the assumption. First assumption, the depth of the foundation is less than or equal to its width, means the foundation is a shallow foundation. Next, base of the footing is rough. Second, soil above bottom of foundation has no shear strength. It means it's only a surcharge load against the overturning load. Next, surcharge up to the base of the footing is considered. Load applied is vertical and concentric. Next assumption, the soil fails in general shear failure and the footing is long strip footing resulting on a homogeneous and isotropic soil having a shear parameter. So this theory is applicable only for general shear failure and for the strip footing. Suppose this is your ground surface or a ground level where B is the width of the footing, dF is the depth of the foundation. So we are calculate the pressure which is Q ultimate load acting at the base of the footing. Okay, Q is the ultimate load. So now as the first assumption is the footing is a strip footing. So analysis is a 2D, or if we draw the failure plane, so the failure plane in a 3 zone, zone 1, zone 2 and zone 3. As the base of the footing is rough, the soil in the wedge zone, which is A, B, C, immediately beneath the footing is prevented from undergoing any lateral field, and the soil in this wedge zone remains in a state of plastic equilibrium and it behave as a part of the footing. Okay, so it behave as a part of the footing itself, and it is assumed that the angles CAB and CBA are equal to the angle of shear resistance, which is phi of the soil. Okay, the sloping edge AC and BC of the soil wedges CBA against the radial shear zone, which is CBD and CAG, and the curves CD and CG are arc of a logarithmic spiral. Okay, so this is logarithmic spiral. Okay, two triangular zone are the passive Rankine zone. So zone 3 are the passive Rankine zone, and overburden pressure, which is gamma DF, act as a surcharge on the Rankine passive zone. The failure zone do not extend on the surface, okay, through the base AB of the footing. In other words, the shear resistance of the soil located above the base of the footing is neglected and the effect of soil is taken to the surcharge of gamma DF. Because of this assumption, Terzaghi theory is valid only for shallow foundation, in which the term gamma DF is related. So the bearing capacity depends upon the shearing resistance on the boundary of a failure zone. So balancing the force of failure, okay, so the upward forces and the downward forces. For the upward forces acting on a plane AC and BC, the resultant of passive forces and the vertical component of cohesion acting along the length AC and BC. Okay, for the vertical component for the length AC and BC is B by 2 cos phi, and the vertical component of the cohesion is C, which is cohesion B by 2 cos beta, the length of this AC and BC, and sine phi. Okay, next, downward forces acting on the wedge ABC is total load on a footing, which is QU, and ultimate load of the bearing, ultimate load, and the width of the footing, and the weight of the soil in the wedge area. In this area, the weight of the soil, which is 1 by 2 B by 2 10 phi, this depth and width of the footing and the unit weight of the soil. Okay, so For the equilibrium of the wedge ABC, the downward forces and the upward forces must be balanced. Okay. So putting the values into the equations, upward forces is equal to downward forces, and arrange the value in this manner. Okay. So the resulting passive earth pressure, which has three component PPC, which is produced by the component of cohesion, assuming the soil as weightless and neglecting the surcharge. Second component PP gamma, produced by the weight of the shear zone, assuming the soil is cohesionless and neglecting the surcharge. Third component is produced by the surcharge, assuming the soil has as cohesionless and the weightless, and replacing the PP by this three component, and the equation becomes this: QUB 2 PPC plus PP gamma plus PPQ BC 10 phi minus 1 by 4 10 phi B square gamma, and then arrange the equation with same terminology. Okay, so 2 PPC plus BC 10 phi plus 2 PPQ plus 2 PP gamma minus 1 by 4 10 phi B square gamma. So replacing the terminology with this, okay, so 2 pp gamma minus 1 by 4 10 5 b square by gamma is replaced by this terminology, this by this and this by this. Okay, then putting the value in the equation, we get this equation: QUB is equal to B C N C plus B 1 by 2 B gamma N gamma B D F N Q gamma, and then cross multiplication of the b and cancel all the b. So final equation is CNC plus DFNQ gamma 1 by 2 b gamma n gamma. Okay, so this is the final equation of the bearing, ultimate bearing capacity for the strip footing for general shear failure. Means this equation is only, so this is the final equation of the ultimate bearing capacity by Terzaghi method. Okay, so this equation is applicable for general shear failure and only for the strip footing, where C is the cohesion, NC, NQ, N gamma are the Terzaghi bearing capacity coefficient, DF is the depth of the foundation, and gamma is the unit weight of the soil, and the B is the width of the foundation. This NC, NQ and N gamma, you can get the value from the Terzaghi bearing capacity table. Okay, or you can calculate this NC, NQ, N gamma by this equation. Next, for local shear failure in strip footing, okay, if the failure is local shear failure, for strip footing, the equation is this: 2 by 3 C NC dash gamma DF NQ dash 1 by 2 gamma B N gamma. So how can we find the failure is general shear failure or local shear failure? If the phi angle is more than 36°, it means the failure is general shear failure. Or if the phi angle is less than 27°, the failure is a local shear failure. Okay. C is again the cohesion, gamma is the unit weight of the soil, DF is the depth of the foundation, gamma is the unit weight of the soil, B is the width of the footing, NC, NQ, N gamma is the Terzaghi bearing capacity coefficient. Okay. So NC, NQ, N gamma you can obtain by this table based on the angle of shear resistance. If the value is the middle of this, in this value like 13, you can calculate the value by the interpolation. Next, the bearing capacity of shallow for circular and the square footing. For the circular footing, the equation is 1.3 CNC plus gamma DF NQ plus 0.3 gamma D N gamma. For the circular footing, the D is the diameter of the footing. And for the square footing, the equation is 1.3 CNC gamma DF NQ plus 0.4 gamma B gamma. Okay. Next method, Scampton method. So Scampton showed that the bearing capacity factor like NC is a function of the depth of the foundation, and also if its depth. Okay, so Scamption shows that the bearing capacity NC in Terzaghi equation tends to increase with the depth for a cohesive soil. He shows the variation of NC with the depth of the foundation and the width ratio for strip, circular or footing. For strip footing, the value of NC is equal to 5.14 if for the surface footing, means the depth of the foundation is 0 as a and has a maximum value is 7.5 if D by B ratio is more than 2.5. Okay, for square or circular footing, the NC is equal to a 6.2 for the surface footing, means when the depth of the foundation is 0, and the maximum value is 9 for D by B ratio is more than 2.5. Next, effect of water table on bearing capacity. The change in moisture content of the soil affect the properties of the soil. Similarly, if soil gets submerged, its ability to support the load coming over its unit area is reduced when the water table is above the base of the footing. The submerged waste is used for the soil below the water table for computing the surcharge. The water table correction are applied to determine. So the bearing capacity equation incorporate the groundwater table. Correction factor is given below. So equation becomes CNC plus gamma 1 df nq rw1 1 by 2 b gamma n gamma 2 rw2. Okay, so rw1 and rw2 is the reduction factor, q is the ultimate bearing capacity, c is the cohesion, nc nq n gamma is the Terzaghi bearing capacity constant or constant. B is the width of the footing. Gamma is the unit weight of the soil. For the water table, gamma 1 is the average unit weight of the surcharged soil situated above the water table, and the gamma 2 is the average unit weight of the wedge soil situated within a depth B below the base of the footing. There are three cases. So first case is case 1, when the water table located above the base of the footing. Okay, means the water table is located above the base of the footing. The reduction factor is calculated by this equation. Rw1 by this equation and Rw2 is zero point 0.5, whereas the Zw1 is the depth of the water table from the foundation or from the ground surface. Second case, if the water table located at a depth below the base of the footing, okay, if the water table is located below the base of the footing, you can see in this image, okay. So for the reduction factor Rw1, the value is 1 and Rw2 can be calculated by this equation 0.5, 1 plus Zw2 divided by B, where B is the width of the footing and Zw2 is the depth of the water table from the base of the footing, okay. Zw2 means the depth of the water table from the base of the footing. If the water table located at a depth equal to or greater than the width of footing below the base of footing, the reduction factor Rw1 and Rw2 is 1. In this case, no effect of the water table in the bearing capacity of the soil. Okay, so this case is applicable when the depth of the water table is at a greater depth, okay, or more than the width of the footing or the depth of the footing, then this case is applicable. Okay, so these are the important questions which asked in the examination. So first is define gross bearing capacity, ultimate bearing capacity, safe bearing capacity, allowable bearing capacity. Next, explain Prandtl and Rankine theory for the determination of bearing capacity and also state their limitation. Next question, explain effect of groundwater table on bearing capacity of soil. Next, what are the assumptions made in the derivation of Terzaghi bearing capacity theory, and write the equation for the ultimate bearing capacity. Next, explain types of shear failure of soil with neat sketch, And last one, thus describe the Scampton analysis for bearing capacity of the cohesive soil. Okay, so these are the important question which I am covering in this lecture. Okay, thank you.